Hi everyone, it's the Chungler and I'm back with my Fire Emblem 8 efficiency playthrough. Today we're going to be doing chapter 15, which is a really involved route map. It has a lot of different enemies in a lot of different parts of the map, and we also have two really scary bosses to deal with. The first group of enemies you can see on your screen now is Kalak's group, and Garrick's basically going to route all of them with some support from Renak and Ardor. Garrick is really good here because he reached S swords and can use Adholma that we got last map. He can potentially one-shot enemy mercenaries depending on bulk rolls. The important thing is that he can one-shot enemy myrmidons with it, which is really nice. I leave Ardor in range of a mercenary. I should have just left Renak in range instead. That would have been better. I don't really know. I was just kind of trying shit out. At this point, I didn't really expect this to be the clear that I went with. But yeah, the rest of the units not named Saleh are going to be heading south towards Valter's group. And that's what you can kind of see us working towards now. Cormag and Innis are going to combine to kill the mercenary at the start. And then Seth is just going to kill a mercenary because he doesn't really have anything else to do before he gets picked up by Vanessa. She'll pick up Seth and drop him over where a bunch of enemies are after getting danced. Seth's equipment is kind of weird in this chapter. We have him equip a Slim Sword at first because it'll break during the enemy phase, and the Slim Sword gives him 100 hit against some of the one-range enemies that attack him. I didn't really plan this, but it kind of just worked out nicely. There's alternatives, like you can just have him equipped with the Javelin, and just your hit rates will be a little bit worse against the fighters that attack, but it's not a huge deal if they don't die. But yeah, Seth is really good here. He ends up critting a Myrmidon, meaning that his Slim Sword will break against one of the fighters here, which is okay. It just leaves one of the fighters alive, which is and now that he broke the Slim Sword, he'll have a Javelin equipped, which is good because he can kill the Cavaliers that attack him, and he can also counter the Horsemen that attack as well. Here's Garrick dealing with some of the mercenaries. He one-shots one of the mercenaries. If he doesn't do that, we can have Eirika actually finish off with the Rapier, but yeah, we didn't need to do that. Unfortunately though, Garrick misses a 90% displayed against the Myrmidon, which is really annoying because it means we have to go into a backup strat. But that's kind of just how it works. Sometimes things are gonna get fucked up. Vanessa dropped Seth and then moved a little bit towards the right so that she could deal with some of these wyverns that have one range. This is kind of why we wanted the Dragon Spear last chapter, because it allows Vanessa to one-round KO wyverns at one range. Vanessa does have some small chance of death here, but her avoid is really good, and she can take a few hits from these wyverns, so usually it's not a big deal. Basically, this enemy phase just kind of determines whether she needs to get physicked by Saleh or not next turn. But yeah, Saleh kind of stayed towards the top of the map. He's dealing with a really strong enemy Berserker that we really don't have any other units that can deal with him. Saleh does have some death chance if he gets crit. Because the Berserker gets 2 chances to attack him, Saleh will have around a 5% chance of death, which isn't ideal, but we really don't have any other options. Garrick is busy, Seth is busy. Kyle we didn't really have any deployment for, but he wouldn't be better than Saleh at dealing with it, so yeah, not really any good options, but Saleh is still pretty good at it. Seth is now going to equip a Spear for the second enemy phase, and Spear Seth is really fucking ridiculous. He's going to one-round KO that promoted Paladin that's actually really bulky, and also kill the rest of the Rangers that attacked him on turn 1. The Spear has limited uses, so we can't go super crazy with it, but when we're able to use it, it's really nice. Holm is deployed basically just to pick up desert items. He's going to pick up the Swift Souls and then get rescued by Tana so that he can pick up the body ring in a few turns. Inez is going to get danced by Tethys so he can try and kill one of the Javelin Wyverns that attacked Vanessa. So We basically need one of these wyverns to die between Inez and Cormag, so we're going to have Inez use a longbow on one of them, and if that doesn't do it, we can have Cormag go in for the kill. Tethys can't survive 2 wyverns, so at least one has to be dead. Cormag actually kills the second wyvern with a Killer Lance crit. If this didn't happen, we would just have the wyvern attack Tethys, and Inez could kill him next turn. Honestly, arguably shouldn't have had Cormag kill the wyvern just so that Tethys could get hit and Sally would have an additional staff target just in case. But yeah, because Sally gets hit by the Berserker on turn 1, we have to just kill him here on turn 2 or use an elixir. We can't afford to use Physic, which is unfortunate. So thankfully Vanessa didn't get hit too much, so she's still at pretty high HP. She attacks a Berserker on player phase here with the Axe Reaver. This Berserker will attack first in Valter's group next turn on enemy phase. Well, this turn on enemy phase. So what we can do is have Vanessa finish him with the Axe Reaver. Then because the Berserker drops a Devil Axe, send the Axe Reaver to the convoy, and then have the Dragon Spear equipped for the rest of the enemy phase. So that's pretty nice. Eirika is going to start dealing with the rest of the enemies in Kellak's group with the Hatchet. And again, because this Myrmidon got missed by Garrick, we have to use Renak and Ardor to combine to kill him. Ideally, Ardor doesn't have to do this and can just use Physic on Garrick to help him with survivability against Kellak a little bit later, but that's just kind of how it works. Thankfully, it's a backup strat. We don't have to do it that often. So there's also a mercenary that attacked Ardor on turn 1. I should have just had Renak in range of him, because Renak actually doubles the mercenaries a lot of the time. I also kind of fucked up here by having Renak in range of 2 of the mages, meaning that Yarrick doesn't kill any of them, which makes things a little bit annoying. Renak does face a little bit of crit from these Thunder Mages, but it could be pretty easily mitigated. There's also a Luna Shaman that attacks Ardor on this turn and can potentially kill him. Again, if the Myrmidon had died on turn 1, then Renak would have killed the Shaman and we wouldn't have to worry about it. But we just take what we can get here. Vanessa again has some death chance against these wyverns. A lot of times she can get Physic by Sally. She didn't this time, but she still ends up being okay because they just don't have very much hit on her, and she can take a few hits. And here you can just see how fucking strong Spear Seth is. There are some other uses for the Spear later in the playthrough if we want, but I figured this is like one of the hardest maps left in the playthrough. Might as well use it while we can. These horsemen are going to end up attacking Seth at 1 range. I don't really know why. They have swords, so they face weapon triangle disadvantage, and so they just give him more hit and more might, but we're not really going to question it. And one of the wyverns near Valter attacks Vanessa at 1 range here, even though he has a javelin, just because she's kind of close to death. So that's kind of nice. We just get to kill a wyvern for free there. There's a Troubadour that tries and sleeps Cormag this turn. If on turn 1 Innes was able to kill the mercenary with a silver bow, Cormag could have used a Cure Water, which would alleviate any chance that he would get slept here. Even if he does get slept, it's like fine. It just means we have 1 less unit killing enemies down here, but as you can see, stuff's looking pretty sparse as it is, so usually it's not a big deal as long as we don't miss too much with our other units. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with Vanessa here. I could have had her use an elixir, an enemy phase, Valter, but I kind of just wanted to deal with the wyvern and then figure out how to deal with Valter later. But technically attacking him this turn might have been better, because if she dies to a crit, it's a turn 3 reset instead of a turn 4 reset, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. Sally is also going to get a chance to use an elixir here, as well as a Get Danced by Tethys. Tethys also gets a point of HP, so because Sally didn't get to Physic Vanessa earlier in the map, he gets to Physic Tethys now here, which gets him his last little bit of staff rank towards Warp. Again, if I didn't take so long in some earlier maps, I would have had to route Sally's staff EXP a lot more precisely, but I didn't, and it ended up working out okay in the end. He ended up reaching for it. And yeah, the rest of the enemies near Kelak were just kind of finishing off, and Garrick is going to start his boss fight. So, because Arthur didn't get to heal him earlier, he had to kill the Myrmidon. He's got to heal him before he fights Kelak, which kind of sucks because it means Garrick has to dodge 1 out of 2 attacks from Kelak. In this recording, Garrick doubles Kelak. It's not super likely that he does, but because Garrick doubles Kelak here with the Tomahawk equipped, it means that we have to hit fewer Adholma hits against Kelak. If Garrick doesn't double, then we have to hit every single Adholma at like 80 displayed hit, which is kind of bad. So it's definitely kind of nice that Garrick is able to double here. And I was just kind of figuring out where to go with Tana here. We need to drop Culm kind of above this village because that's where the body ring is. And we need the body ring for next map to improve reliability. So definitely need to make sure Culm can get it. Ephraim's group kind of joined us. Noel is just going to go grab the village. Ephraim doesn't really have enough movement to do anything, though his stats aren't super good. Dusel, however, does have some movement to get some stuff done. He can help kill one of the Cavaliers that's going to spawn as a reinforcement from one of these forts. So that's kind of nice, but otherwise he's not going to do anything too important. Inez is kind of just sticking around in case we need him to do something. I didn't move Seth here because I want him to block one of the Cavalier reinforcements. One of them spawns with the Javelin, so it's a little bit easier to just have Seth on a fort so he doesn't spawn at all. It's basically like killing an enemy, but killing it in advance. And Vanessa just takes out a Wyvern here so that we can finish up most of the enemies at that portion of the map. But Arter is finally going to kill this Luna Shaman that's been harassing him, which is pretty nice. Having to deal with him was really annoying. Tana is going to miss this mercenary, which kind of annoyed me at this point. I had a lot of misses, just kind of fucked things up. But it's okay. She can just kill him next turn because Garrick doubled Kalak, so we don't need Tana next turn to rescue Renak, and you'll kind of see what I mean later. These Pegasi that are going to spawn kind of need to get dealt with by Saleh. Someone like Dazla can deal with them, but Dazla's not nearly as good at dealing with the Berserker as Saleh is, so that's kind of why he's up there instead of someone else. Yeah, remember when I said Dusel could deal with one of the Cavaliers? Well, no, he actually misses, so that was pretty annoying. Yeah, Inish is just kind of here if anything is left alive that we need killed. Korma got slapped on enemy phase. Doesn't really matter, pretty much everything's dead around here, so it's not too big of a deal. On this turn, Saleh, if someone is in range, like Arter or something, like basically if I had moved Arter beforehand, Saleh could get an extra physic in, but I didn't think to do that, so just something to keep in mind if you need a little bit more staff rank on Saleh. And Vanessa is just going to elixir in front of Valter. Any unit that has to take a hit from Valter has to have above 32 HP because Valter has a 13% pierce chance, which is actually pretty high, so he'll do around 32 damage. That's why we need to elixir with Vanessa. And here, because Kelak's low, he got doubled, so Garrick can finish him off on player phase here. If Kelak was still alive on enemy phase, we would need to rescue Renak away from Kelak so that Renak could both get the warp and be out of range on enemy phase, and that's why Tana's kind of below him there in case she needs to go rescue him. But since she missed the mercenary, she kind of needs to deal with that anyway. We pick up the Hoplin Guard from killing Kelak here. Unfortunately, Kelak just can't be killed reliably enough to send the Hoplin Guard over to Valter, the group dealing with Valter, so we can't negate his crit rate, unfortunately. Tana just finishes off this mercenary. Things are really just getting finished up. Eirika really didn't do anything, though she is able to do things sometimes, so she's not totally useless. I didn't heal Garrick with Ardor before he attacked Kelek because I wasn't sure if Ardor needed to help kill the mercenary below him in case Kelek lived and Renak needed to be rescued. The rest of these Pegasi are actually perfectly in range of Saleh on a tree tile, which is nice, so he doesn't have any real chance of death against them. We'll just Elixir anyway, though, just to be safe. They're not super strong, but the Steel Lance ones can sometimes 3-hit KO him if he's like not on a forest or something. Again, this would be a good opportunity to use Physic with Saleh if you needed to. And we're just going to finish off this map on enemy phase. Just using Excalibur for style points here, don't really need it. Sally's actually growing a lot of magic. I haven't given him one of the energy rings because I kind of want to keep his warp range at 10 just to show off what you can do with that, but if Sally gets lucky, I guess he could just give the energy ring to someone else. And here's Valter. He has a Killer Lance, which he could technically use to crit kill Vanessa, but he decides to use the Spear instead, so that's actually kind of nice for us. It makes Vanessa's death chance a lot lower. And so that is Chapter 15 completed in 4 turns. And I will see you guys next time for Chapter 16. Bye.